Our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. Mike created the new Giza Dream bed sheets. They're amazing. I use them. I love them. You will receive 2 for one low price plus free shipping, guys. Free shipping. Call 1-800-685-7221. Use the promo code Carter. So much is going on. I mean, I don't even know where to start, but I'm going to start right here with China and, of course, Myanmar. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. We'll get into that later on. Greg, my producer, has been trying to correct me on how I'm pronouncing it. So I'm just going to go with Burma, because isn't that what President Biden has been calling it, even though it's upsetting everybody in Myanmar right now that he's calling it Burma. It's a whole history thing, a history lesson we've got to give to President Biden. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about China, the expansion of China, which I'm sure Biden is only going to pretend he's going to do something about because he's not. The Chinese basically understand they've got Joe and all of his brothers and his son wrapped around their finger. We're going to talk about Hong Kong. My friends are in Hong Kong, and how thousands of people are fleeing Hong Kong now. Why? Because of China. And they're going to be fleeing to Great Britain and the issue with the Chinese cracking down on their visas. Because remember, Hong Kong was a part of Great Britain. I mean, that's huge. And we're talking about thousands of people now fleeing and thousands of people under duress. And Andy Chan, one of my good friends, is one of them. He was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Speaking of which, Nobel Peace Prize right now, I'm just stunned. I can't believe this. But BLM basically has been nominated by a Norwegian parliamentarian for the Nobel Peace Prize, as well as Stacey Abrams. And also, Jared, not to leave this out, Jared Kushner is also being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, mainly from, obviously not from the Norwegians, but from Alan Dershowitz, the reporter who I've many times been on television with and who has his own little issues out there in the media right now. We'll talk about those two coming up. Guys, I'm not going to forget to talk to you about what we have also in our next and upcoming episodes, which is going to be a really big deal. But that's going to be about updating you guys on all of the unidentified aerial phenomena. I was on the phone with Luis Elizondo. You all know him. He formerly headed the Pentagon's program for UFOs. I'll tease a little bit about what's coming up, but huge developments in that arena, and he'll be on with us this week to talk about it. But before I go anywhere else, I want to talk to you about something that I absolutely believe in. It's an organization that I think is phenomenal, and that is AMAC. It's the Association of Mature American Citizens. And the reason I love it is because it's not AARP, which is completely liberal and has a very, very different agenda than AMAC. I support AMAC. I know you do too. Go to amac.us/Carter. That's amac.us/Carter. That's why we're here. We support organizations here at the Sarah Carter Show that actually make a difference in people's lives, and organizations that actually stand for the same values that we hold dear, that I hold dear. Let's talk to you first, though, about what's happening. I'm going to just start with Hong Kong. I want to start with Hong Kong because my heart just pours out for the people in Hong Kong. When I was in Japan several years ago, I was there with Jenny Terre. She's a writer at SarahCarter.com. Don't forget to go there and look at all the latest stories. But I was in Japan. I also went to Korea, and I had an opportunity during that time to become very good friends, actually, with Andy Chan, who has since been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. He is a wonderful human being. He headed the Hong Kong National Party. And think about this. He stands up to China. Can you imagine? Oh, wait, because I'm going to bring in the United States and the issues that we've been facing here as well. The extraordinarily new issues that we've never seen in the past, right? Like the fact that for some people who oppose, the Biden administration or have spoken out against it, or people who are very much loyalists, to Trump, or conservatives that don't believe and did not vote for Joe Biden, there is this huge push out there by the left-wing media and by former administration officials to basically call them and call us terrorists. It's crazy. I know. But look at what's happening in China, folks. Look at what's happening in Hong Kong. Look at how people are being silenced. You know what the Chinese government says? And this is the same thing that is happening in Myanmar. Okay, wait, I'm going to stop. I'm going to ask Greg this question. I hope Greg can come in on this. Greg, am I saying it correctly?
Myanmar.
Okay. You see, I was not saying it correctly. Myanmar. I love Greg. You guys are going to get to know him because I'm bringing him in all the time now. He's like my Encyclopedia Britannica. He is like Google. The guy knows everything. I mean, he doesn't even need to be near a computer. When I talk to him, he knows. And so Myanmar, and I apologize for anybody out there who believes that I'm still pronouncing it wrong. You know, but these are these issues. And Taiwan, my gosh, Taiwan's not even getting the attention it needs and deserves. You know, this is China encroaching, right? But the Chinese, and what I just brought up a second ago, that China uses the excuse, it's like, oh, these are terrorists. These people in Hong Kong are terrorists. I want you to hear Andy Chan, my good friend, when I interviewed him. This was while I was in Korea. I want you to hear this interview with Andy Chan. I remember giving up actually my speaking. I was speaking to young students in Korea, actually, and I invited Andy. Andy came there to see what was going on. We were in Korea, and I asked Andy to come on stage, and I literally gave up my time speaking. So Andy, who is a hero in East Asia, could actually speak to the young Korean conservatives that were attending this event I was at. Listen to this clip.
Of course, we should connect because we have same goal. We want to dissolve China. We want to end this regime. So we have the same goal, but we are just at different region, at different geographic location, but we're fighting the same war. We have the same goal. So in Hong Kong, we protest in the street. The Tibetans, Uyghurs, they protest in their own region. The US, we can do some other things. For example, tariffs, you can fight an economic war, trade war, whatsoever. You have lots of weapons that you can use in the US. So with Hong Kong people, one of our hope is that the U.S. will intervene and help us.
That's what he really needed. And a lot of people, including Andy, have been silenced because the threat of what can happen to them and their lives with the Chinese is unimaginable. People have disappeared. Andy's life has been under threat. He's been arrested multiple times and not arrested for doing anything outside of speaking. And I want you to think about what is happening in our own country. I know you're busy, you're working, you're raising children, you're just trying to make ends meet. We all are. We're living in a global pandemic, you know, where, my gosh, we've lost our businesses. So many of our friends have lost their jobs. So many people have lost their lives. We don't even know if we're being told the truth anymore. We just can't even ask the questions. You know, my good friend Steve Hilton, the host of The Next Revolution on Fox News, and I love to do his show. It's on Sundays. He's tackling one of the big questions about the COVID pandemic, right? About the COVID. He's one of the very few that are actually speaking up, going over the State Department reports, interviewing reporters who are investigating. What did China do with the COVID pandemic? How did this start? Did China have any responsibility? Did it come from a lab? Because remember, in the very beginning, it was like, my gosh, you were a conspiracy theorist if you even questioned it. I don't even know how that got started. That's insanity, folks. Just talk to people like Andy Chan. Talk to people like my friend Yoko Ishii in Japan, who stands up for Andy, and who, by the way, YouTube demonetized me. I want you to know this. I need to come out and just tell you what happened to me. YouTube demonetized me from their platform. Not because I interviewed Rudy Giuliani before, not because of anything, because I didn't really go into the whole, election fraud as much as others. It didn't have anything to do with that. It had to do with my interview with Yoko Ishii. That's it. I interviewed Yoko Ishii And she talked about China and against China and against what China is doing and its encroachment. And we've seen what they have been able to do. And I'm going to go into that momentarily on Taiwan. And I'm going to read you a little bit about what happened in Myanmar, just in case you don't know what happened there. But a U.S. company, I mean, basically, this is big tech, censored me because they want me to pull my interview off. They don't want you to know the truth about China. Just the fact how China encroaches on the lives of civilians, right? This is why thousands of people, if what Yoko Ishii is saying is not true, if what her and her husband are doing to fight for the people of Hong Kong is not true, then why are thousands of people fleeing Hong Kong? Why are they? And why would YouTube try to censor me on that? Censoring me. I mean, whatever, the $2 that they want me to make on YouTube. But what if they take away the platform from me? Let me tell you a little bit about Myanmar's military. It staged a coup Monday, just in case you didn't know, and it detained senior politicians, including a Nobel laureate. This is a sharp reversal of the significant, if uneven, progress toward democracy in the Southeast Asian nation has made following 5 decades of military rule. This is a story coming from the AP. An announcement read on military-owned Maiwadi TV, and I probably pronounced that wrong, Maiwadi TV said Commander-in-Chief Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, and again, I'm pronouncing everybody's name wrong, but just pretend like I'm pronouncing them correctly, would be in charge of the country for 1 year. So they're going to basically lock down the nation for 1 year, because they don't want anyone, right, to speak out or act up. Otherwise, they're what? Terrorists? They want to ensure that the population doesn't speak out against what happened. That is really frightening stuff. And you don't think it can happen here. My God, look at what's happening in the United States. We have been speaking out about, the most important part, I believe, of our U.S. Constitution is our First Amendment freedoms, our ability to speak out, our ability to say what we feel. It may not always be right. You may disagree with it. You could be crazy, right? You could be just talking crazy, but you're not inciting violence. You're not doing anything bad. But can you imagine? Now people who are speaking out literally are being called terrorists by former senior administration officials who are now going to be in the administration. We're going to be talking about Peter Strzok and the crazy position his wife is going to get. Oh, yeah, he's still married to his wife. It's like they're rewarding all the people who trampled the Constitution. And the reason I'm talking to you about China and Taiwan and Hong Kong is that this will affect our lives. Our entire country is changing. President Trump wanted to hold China accountable. This administration will not. Huawei will come into our country, the big 5G, right? I've had Brenton Carr on this show multiple times. Remember, he warned us. He warned us about what China was doing in the United States, about the towers they were building in Montana where there was nobody around, except our nuclear facilities. You guys, China is moving, and it is moving quick. It's like when you see something happening, but you don't quite know what it is. Listen to what happened in Taiwan. Here's Taipei, a story out of Taipei. 6 Chinese fighter aircraft and a U.S. reconnaissance aircraft entered the southwestern corner of Taiwan's air defense identification zone on Sunday. The island's defense ministry said, do you understand what that is? China literally encroached and said, no more Taiwan. We own you. Tensions have spiked over the last week or so after Taiwan reported multiple Chinese fighters and bombers flying into the zone last weekend in an area close to the Taiwan-controlled Pratas Islands in the northern part of the South China Sea. And China is expanding in the South China Sea. China is moving. China has been planning this for a long time, and they see our weakness now. Are we going to be able to keep China in check? I don't think so. And look at what's happening in our nation. Like how much we rely on China, right? How much do we rely on China just for everything? You go to Walmart, you go to Target, just go to the local grocery store. That's why it was so important to bring jobs back to America. That's why America first, counted, why it matters. It's not that other people don't count. It's not that they don't count. It's that they do count, but only if we can take care of our people first, of our nation first, which is just like a melting pot of the world, right? It's the only reason people come to this country is because they want to believe that our nation's government is not corrupted like theirs, right? Which is the reason people flee places like, oh man, you know what? China is like flying fighter jets over Taiwan. I'm going to get out of here. I'm hightailing it out of here with my family because before you know it, China's going to be in here. They're going to control everything. People in Hong Kong, good fight. It was a great fight, guys. We tried marching through the streets, but guess what? Nobody else in the world wants to stand up to China. So I'm taking my visa. If I got it, I'm going to get out of here, which now China no longer recognizes. China's going to do whatever they want. And we cannot just be isolationists. We're going to get dragged into this. We're already being dragged into this. It's crazy. It's just crazy. That I bring it up to you. I want you to understand this. It's not about news of the day. It's about who we are as a people, what we are willing to stand up for, what we are willing to actually fight for. And you know what I mean when I use the word fight. I do not mean actually fight. Disclaimer. We have to say that now because I feel like, John Brennan and his threat that the intelligence community is all over us is somehow trying to make anybody who speaks out, a terrorist or some kind of right-wing nut job. No Biden administration, no President Biden, no crazy John Brennan, former CIA director. None of us are. For the most part, we're regular, normal American citizens that want to preserve our Constitution and the foundation of this country for our children and future generations. We were given that right, not by you, but by our Creator and by our Constitution. The Founding Fathers gave us that. Freedom is precious, and we should not allow our government to take that away from us. And it is the reason why so many people overseas, like in Taiwan and Hong Kong and all these other places around the world, in Myanmar, are fighting for these freedoms, for essential freedoms, just to be able to speak out and to speak up. That's just, I tell you guys, I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen what life is like for people when they have nothing. And we are so blessed and we have so much. Just don't give that away. I want to jump right into some things just really quickly. Some stuff here. Trump's impeachment legal team. By the way, President Trump has now hired David Schoen, who I consider a good friend. He has been on our show multiple times. He is a defense and civil rights attorney, actually a Democrat. He worked for the Democrat National Committee way back when, and he understands the law. He understands the viciousness. I was talking to him earlier today. He and I were on the phone. He understands the viciousness of what's going to happen by defending President Trump. But he actually was with me and he was saying, hey, look, there is no constitutional right. And I'm going to read what he texted me, what he sent to me. Said, I believe the idea of an impeachment trial for a former president no longer in office is unconstitutional for several reasons. But beyond the constitutional issues, this impeachment trial is perhaps the most ill-advised legislative act I have seen in my lifetime on every level. He is absolutely right, folks. Absolutely right. They're using impeachment as a weapon against a party, against the president. What do these Democrats think? Do they think that by just totally stomping all over impeachment, because basically now we're going to use it as like a political football, right? We're going to throw it back and forth. They hate Orange Man. Okay. So impeach him. Don't let him run for office again. Don't let him lead the GOP. Don't support, and anyone who supports him, by the way, or his policies, just ostracize them, right, from society. Just make them feel so embarrassed that they ever voted for him, because we are going to not only ostracize you, we're just going to take away every bit of your individuality. You must conform to the Borg, the Democratic mindset They are the Borg. Remember that from Star Trek? Okay, so I'm a little bit of a sci-fi nerd. I love it. I love Star Wars, Star Trek, all of those shows, Battlestar Galactica. I just go crazy over all of them. I could stay up all night just watching Netflix and going through some of those shows. But that's what it is. It's like we're the Borg, right? You must be the Borg. Have no other thought process, or we will ostracize you. Burn your Trump hats. Burn your Trump shirts. Pretend like you never voted for him. Come out publicly if you did and say how wrong you were. Cleanse yourself. And if you don't, we're going to put the scarlet letter S on you. This is craziness. This is not the United States of America that I believed in, that you believed in. We cannot be quiet about these things, folks. It doesn't mean we got to go out there and act crazy like Antifa or BLM or like what happened on January 6th. We can't do that. But we can stand up and say, yeah, so what? So what? Joe Biden, think about him and his family and all the corruption. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed that I supported President Trump and his America First policies. I would be embarrassed if I supported President Biden and his America Last policies. You know, I believe in our country. It doesn't mean I won't support this administration. Doesn't mean that I won't say this, that I'm not proud of my country. But God help, don't take away my voice. Don't take away who I am as a human being. Don't call people who had a difference of opinion a terrorist. This is the United States of America. That's what China does. That's what China does to get away with things. We don't do that here. We had actually real terrorists, right? Real terrorists. I'm going to talk about some of those that Bill Clinton and Obama and others actually just, pardoned. Real terrorists, people. Real terrorists. And I'm going to go through that list in a moment. I want to talk to you a little bit about as well. This is like Peter Strzok's wife. Have you guys seen this? Do you remember Peter Strzok? Oh, Peter Strzok, going back to the good old days, right? And Joe Pienka. They were the two FBI officials. Peter Strzok headed their Russia division at the FBI. He was part of the whole Crossfire Hurricane investigation. He was the same guy that went in and set up Michael Flynn, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. He was that smug ass, right? That smug ass that was like, let me play a clip for you. This is a smug Strzok answering questions to Congressman Louis Gohmert way back when. And I'm going to tell you what his wife is going to be doing for the Biden administration. He got rewarded for trying to coup the president of the United States then.
How many times did you look so innocent into your wife's eye and lie to her about Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, this is outrageous.
The credibility of a witness
Shame
is always
on you.
an issue.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Have you, Mr. Chairman, this is intolerable harassment of the witness.
What's wrong with that? You need your medication.
I have always told the truth. The fact that you would accuse me otherwise, the fact that you would question whether or not that was the sort of look I would engage with in a family member who I have acknowledged hurting goes more to a discussion about your character and what you stand for and what is going inside you.
It's to your credibility, and you lost your credibility.
Both individuals.
You've lost your credibility.
While
That's
I doubt
the
it
problem.
plays well
Gentleman
to
from
America,
Texas
I'm not sure
the gentleman from Texas will suspend.
That is just crazy. So basically, that was a back and forth between Congressman Gohmert and Peter Strzok. And the thing is that Peter Strzok lied. He lied. He lied to Congress. He was fired from his job at the FBI. But he was an integral part of basically going after President Trump for 4 years on Russian disinformation. I call it Russian disinformation because not only did Hillary Clinton pay a foreign intelligence officer, a former British MI6 officer, to collect information from former Russian spies as well as current ones, but everything in his dossier, in Christopher Steele's dossier, was a big fat lie. And all of them worked on this to basically destroy people's lives, right? This was Peter Strzok. This was Clapper, James Comey, Andy McCabe, the whole gang. The whole gang worked on this. They did this so that they could destroy President Trump's name and everyone else around him. And for 4 years, they were very successful. Okay, so they lost their jobs. Nobody was held accountable, not even Kevin Kleinsmith. Remember, Kevin Kleinsmith was the one that they caught red-handed changing the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court warrant that they used to spy on Carter Page, an American citizen. They basically destroyed Carter Page's name publicly and globally because they were the ones that leaked the information on Carter Page. Nobody else. Nobody else had access to this dossier but the FBI. But they leaked information basically saying that Carter Page was what? That he was a spy for Russia when Carter Page was actually working for the CIA. He was helping our country. I know Carter Page. He's a great man. He is a very good man, and I've talked to him many times about this. And so here we go. Last week, I don't know if you all saw this, but the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, announced that Melissa Hodgman, Peter Strzok's wife, would be appointed to the head of the agency's Division of Enforcement as its acting director. Do you know what she's really going to be charged with, guys? Do you know what? Big tech. Think about it. Big tech. And big tech already knows, right? Already knows that they've got the Biden administration in their pocket. Why? Because they've done favors for big tech. They've basically silenced us, conservatives. Shadow bans, not letting our information get out. We are basically like big tech's, I don't know. We're their ping pong ball. They don't care about us. They don't care about the American people. They care about the narrative and keeping the people that they protect in power. Why? Because those people are also in their pocket. A number of very high-level big tech people are now in the Biden administration. And now one of them is Peter Strzok's wife. And she'll be with the SEC, and they can say whatever they want. Melissa's dedication to investor protection, her broad experience in the division. Maybe she's really smart. Maybe she's really great, right? But think about what it looks like. Think about the conflict of interest. In my opinion, I think she was rewarded. I think this was a payback, right? This is like, thanks, Peter. Thanks for screwing up America for 4 years so we could slip Biden back in and get rid of Trump. Too bad we couldn't have jailed him, but you did great. So here, I'm going to give your wife this job. I mean, pretty much that's what it looks like. And that's what we've been going through in this country. So when I go back to, we don't want to be like China. We don't want the rest of the world. We need to stand on principle. We have to be a beacon of light. It's the reason why so many people have come to our country. But now people all over the world are just seeing the same corruption, the same type of banana republic tactics that happen in banana republics as well as communist nations happening right here in the United States. I hear it all the time. Think about what happened to Parler, right? Think about, they just wiped Parler away. Think about what's happening to me with YouTube. They're like, and everybody else, they've told Sebastian Gorka, you need to go through your YouTube. They're sending messages out to everybody. Google will deplatform people if they feel that your stories on your website are not the way they want to see them, the way they think it's accurate, quote unquote. They have people actually going through our papers, our documents, right? Like literally going through fact checkers. Do you know some of those fact checkers Facebook has hired are on HB1 visas from China? Of course they know how to fact check because their whole thing is about censorship. It's all about censorship, but they're using it in dual purposes. It's like political and also to line their own pockets because they're capitalists, right? You don't see Mark Zuckerberg giving up his mansion, McMansion. It's probably like mansions galore. He's not giving up his bedrooms for the illegal immigrants crossing the border. You don't see Nancy Pelosi opening her doors, Adam Schiff opening his doors. No, they want us to open our doors. Oh, by the way, they put that big fence around the Capitol. They want to keep it there permanently. And 25,000 soldiers. But you're not allowed to have a weapon, and you're not allowed to protect your family. And you shouldn't have a fence around your house. We shouldn't have one on the border. Or we should just leave that 2,000-mile border wide open. But I say if they do take down the wall and they do leave the fence wide open, you know what they should do? Those people that want it so desperately, that are such, They understand the plight of the immigrant and they cry for them. They should open their homes to them. There should be some kind of new program where we, can volunteer our homes, and we'll see how good they are. We could volunteer our homes to sponsor families. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has a huge house and a freezer full of ice cream. She should be able to take in a lot of families. I mean, I don't know. I'm all about that. I speak Spanish. I can go to the border and I will help send the families to designated homes. Adam Schiff, here you go. Nadler, here you go. Nancy Pelosi, here's 3 families for you. Keep them for 3 months until they get settled. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Okay, before I get to censorship, I want to just stick with Nancy for one more second. You know what she's going to need? Nancy Pelosi is going to need home title theft insurance. That's what she's going to need. I'm telling you. You never thought COVID could cost you your home, right? It might just be because cybercrime is up 75%. And by far the most serious cybercrime to worry about is home title theft. It's because everyone's locked in their houses. People are sitting there. They're committing crimes on the internet. They might not want to go out there and get COVID, right? So they're doing it right on the internet. It's something to be really scared of. And actually, it's a very, very serious crime. I've seen demonstrations of this. I've actually seen police reports of this. And it can happen like that, folks. Here's how it's done. The title documents to your home are online now. The thief finds your home's title and forges your signature on a quit claim deed stating that you sold your home to him, to the thief. Then he takes out loans on your home and leaves you in debt. You won't know until late payment or eviction notices arrive. Trust me on this. Insurance doesn't cover you, and neither do common identity theft programs. That's why I protect my home with Home Title Lock. The instant Home Title Lock detects someone tampering with your home's title, they help you shut it down. Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim, and then use the code RADIO. That's RADIO to receive 30 free days of protection. That's 30 free days of protection. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com, HometitleLock.com. Now, where was I at? I wanted to talk to you about censorship. I want you to hear this guy. I can't stand him. His name is Brian Stelter. He's on CNN. He's such a jerk. He's like Oliver Darcy. Listen to this. He works for CNN too. Listen to this clip where he's literally justifying censorship. Listen.
The vast majority of people can agree that disinformation about, let's say, the pandemic is unhealthy. It's harmful. So how can that harm be reduced? Well, big tech platforms say they are removing lies about vaccines and stamping out Stop the Steal BS and QAnon cult content. Now, do these private companies have too much power? Sure. And many people would say yes, of course they do. But reducing a liar's reach is not the same as censoring freedom of speech.
What? He's such an ass. I'm sorry I have to say that. This guy is a liar. He lies all the time consistently on CNN. He does. That's what he does. But see, it's what their lies, right? They don't want anyone else talking about an opposing view. They don't want you to question anything. They don't want you to question anything about COVID. They don't want you to question anything about the election. They don't even think about this. How far is this going to go? You won't be able to question the kind of curriculum they're going to be teaching at your kid's school, right? They're going to teach them to hate America, and you got to be like, oh, okay. But if I just say this, then I'm what? I'm a terrorist. I'm anti-American. If I speak up, they're taking away our ability to think freely and speak freely, to question the government, to be a watchdog on the government. You know, it never used to be that the news would be walking hand in hand with the government. It never was this way, at least not for the most part. Now, big tech, mainstream media, as well as all of these, these mainstream news outlets are working hand in hand with the government. Like, how can I help you get the COVID narrative out there? Like, here's a press release from the DOD. Oh, we're going to read it and we're going to not even question it. Why? Because it's from the government. Think about this. Think about all the people that were, journalists that had sources, right? This was probably right around 2015, 2016, when we started to see the real vehement hate towards President Donald Trump. And this isn't about Donald Trump. This is about how these senior officials in the government utilized their buddies in the media, which they shouldn't be buddies with, to basically spread lies to the American people. And then they established, because of the ideology, because we know most of the media is to the left, but now they're to the left all the way. They're not even going to pretend to be objective. They're not even going to pretend to tell you two sides of the story. Brian Stelter is just basically telling you that, whatever they decide should be eliminated. Who's going to be that person? What memory hole will we be looking at, right? 1984. Oh, that doesn't work. Throw it down the memory hole. We don't want to read that. We don't need that. That's a lie. To us, it's a lie. That's what's happening here. And these people, they work together. John Brennan had lots of sources. James Clapper had lots of sources in the media. James Comey, Andy McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, blah, blah, blah. All these folks. And then their minions that worked with them and the people in the bureaucracy. And so they develop these relationships, right? And give them stories that, some of them are credible. Some of them are interesting. So they become best buddies. So when they tell them, when they conduct an operation against Trump, and I don't even want to say crossfire hurricane, Greg came up with Orange Man Bad. Operation Orange Man Bad. So when they came up with Operation Orange Man Bad, they just started, and I know this because I know Washington. I'm going to take you to the back rooms, to the swamp, right? Where they're drinking at bars and everybody's talking, or they're going to parties and they think they know better than all of you out there. Americans are dumb. That's what they say. They're just so dumb. They don't get it. They don't get that voting for Trump. What a dumb move. Oh, they are a basket of deplorables. These dumb Americans. Can you believe this poll? Can you even believe it? I mean, this is crazy. But because they've been so brainwashed and gaslit by these people in Washington, these lawmakers and these intelligence officials, they don't even question them. They don't say, hey, whoa, wait a minute, Brennan. You're telling me that Trump is a Manchurian candidate and he's in the pocket of Russia. You're telling me that. Can you show me some proof of that? I mean, I know you're the former head of the CIA. How do I know you're not playing me? How do I know that you're not doing this just because you love Hillary Clinton? No, they won't even ask those questions. They'll be like, you're right, Brennan. We're going to go out there and we're going to put it all over the paper. It's all lies, but they weren't censored. And by the way, Hillary Clinton and all of these folks said President Trump was illegitimate from the moment he was elected. They tweeted about it. They talked about it. They talked about it on TV. They talked about it on Twitter. They talked about it on Facebook. They said he was illegitimate, that the election was a fraud, that the Russians helped them. Did Twitter, Facebook, or any of these platforms basically censor them? Say, absolutely not, Hillary. You will be thrown off Twitter. This is a lie. Did they fact check her? They've never fact checked her. They've never fact checked any of them. Don't be fooled by what is happening here. What we are seeing here is a very dangerous situation. We have never seen the United States in this situation before. But by God, we can see examples of it all over the world. Look at what China is doing. Look at what they're doing in Taiwan and Hong Kong and what they're saying to the people there. What do you think's happening in the news media there? Oh, these disruptors that are marching through the streets of Hong Kong. They're not freedom fighters. They're terrorists. They're terrorists. So easy. Just call them all terrorists. Then we can expand our domestic spying programs, right? Then we can do whatever we want to do. That's pretty scary stuff, folks. That's very scary. I'm going to segue really quick back over to the border because I think it's important. We have huge caravans, massive, coming towards the United States. That is immigrants that believe that Biden has promised them jobs, that are heading towards this country. President Biden, obviously in big battles with the states, with Texas and others. He wants to just open the floodgates. I know people inside the Border Patrol. I've been on the phone with them. Also know I have sources, that, Mario Duarte and others in Guatemala and in Honduras and in other parts of the world. And they are witnessing this right now. And I was talking to Border Patrol agents and I was talking to ICE officials. And this is huge. I want you to hear this. They are literally kicking criminals, ISIS, kicking them out of the jails and onto the streets. Out of jails and onto the streets. They're not returning them back to Mexico. They can't. So if you're a bank robber, I don't know. If you're a child molester, I don't know. Whatever. They can't send you back. Drug dealers can't send you back. And bank robbery, that may be a little different. They may be in for a long time. But if you're a thief, and I've actually seen some of this stuff. I can't go into details on some of them because it's very sensitive. And of course, people are fighting this on the inside. They are protesting this on the inside. But God help us. Watch what happens. They are literally kicking criminals onto the streets, pushing them out there. And that's why, again, I'm going to remind you, I know I've said this before, but you got to get home title lock because there are people out there and, there's all kinds of crimes happening, but there's a ton of cyber crimes. And like I said earlier, cybercrime is up 75%. And by far, it's the most serious cybercrime to worry about is home title theft. We do not want our homes stolen from us, our money gone, our home gone. Can you even imagine this? Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim. Then use the code RADIO to receive 30 free days of protection. That's radio at HometitleLock.com, HometitleLock.com. I want to play this clip for you. This is migrants in a caravan coming for Biden's promises. Listen to this.
What I want for my people, I just want patience and pace that we can get to the U.S. because they're having a new president. Where's Biden? He's going to help all of us. He's given us 100 days to get to the U.S. and give us legal mental paper so we can get a better life for our kids and family.
I want to tell you what happens. I speak Spanish. I was down there during the caravans that tried to come into this country during the Trump administration, and he wouldn't let them in. I'm going to tell you what I saw. I saw hundreds of men, thousands. A lot. I mean, there were some families, there were some kids. And by the way, a lot of the children, even my friend Mario Duarte, there were children that were traveling with men they didn't even know. They were being rented out. They had to take those children back. If you care about immigrants, if you care about migrants and poverty and what's happening in other parts of the world, then let's work to make those parts of the world better so people don't have to flee. But don't believe a lot of these lies. I speak Spanish. I was down there, was talking to some of these guys. These guys are, joining these caravans, hoping to come into the United States. Some of them, granted, some of them are good people, hardworking people. I know. My mom was an immigrant from Cuba. Good people. But there are a lot of people in there that are criminals, people that are harming children too. And what about the drug cartels who are taking advantage of these migrants, right? The drug cartels and the human trafficking organizations and the young girls that are raped and the children that are exposed to God only knows what. In Guatemala, they take those children back. They have to try to find their families, find them a home. Can you imagine being a child in one of these caravans? And having to travel with these grown men that you don't even know, God only knows what is happening to them. If you actually care about the people that are trying to come into this country illegally, you would not perpetuate this bad behavior at the border, right? It wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. I've covered it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been on the ground. It's tragic. It's horrible. It's horrible. Before I get into, my next segment, I want to talk, I'm going to have some opinions on some things happening with the Lincoln Project. I want to tell you a quick story. I spent a lot of time on that U.S.-Mexico border, and I remember when I was down there during the Obama administration, and by the way, the cages, they were built during the Obama administration, and it was actually meant during that time, they just didn't have the facilities. They had to separate the children from the grown men because so many unaccompanied minors were traveling. Some of these girls had been raped. Some of these children had been molested. The Obama administration did the right thing. I never got mad. You got to separate the adults from the children so that you could protect the children. It was not pristine circumstances. It wasn't. It was not. It wasn't good. It wasn't even easy during the Trump administration. Think about that. Trying to find a place to keep the children, and they have to get medical checkups. Some of the girls came across the border. They had been impregnated, been raped. Think about that. Think about the children that had suffered there. But I remember being on the border, and I was with my friend, Border Patrol agent Albert Spratt and Chris Cabrera, and we were out in this private area near the Rio Grande Valley. I mean, the Border Patrol couldn't kick me off the land. The government couldn't get me off the land. They wanted to. They couldn't because it was private property, and I was right there. And sure enough, while we were there, this, massive group of unaccompanied minors came across the border and came across, the Rio Grande, and they looked tired, disheveled, saddened, upset. They came across with the assistance of a drug cartel. You never cross that border without the help of human traffickers and drug cartels. You're paying a lot in taxes. And some of those kids, they weren't paying so much with money. They were paying with their bodies. And there was one girl, and you could see she was devastated. She didn't even want to talk. She was just maybe no more than 14 or 15 years old, off on her own. One of the other kids had told me that they believed she had been raped. The Border Patrol, amazing men and women of the Border Patrol, when they arrived, we were able to report that, and she was able to get medical help. This is the greatest country on earth. This country. We are an amazing nation. Don't believe the lies you hear. There are always bad apples everywhere, in every country, in every place on earth. But in this country, what I have seen people do on the front lines, our federal law enforcement officers, how they've put themselves out there, the work that they have done, and the reason why they are trying to stop the flow is because across that U.S.-Mexico border are billions of dollars, not just in human trafficking and narcotics and drugs and child trafficking, a definite danger to the United States of America. There is a national security risk at that border. These drug cartel members, they are smart. They are living for the Biden administration. They already see how weak President Biden is going to be with this border. And I go back again. Maybe Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, all of the people that want to open, look, if they really want to do what's right and they want open borders, they have mansions. If this is really what they want to do, they should start a program where American families, all those movie stars, Barbara Streisand, everybody who's telling everybody, hey, you have to open the border, tear down those walls. Madonna, we're going to tear down those walls. And you are going to give your mansion, give half a wing to these people who are crossing the border. Let's start a program. Open your houses to them. Sponsor them. You guys are wealthy beyond wealth, right? You should be able to do this. You care, right? Because you want the rest of America to do it. You want the rest of us. A lot of people have lost their jobs and lost their small businesses due to COVID-19. But if you're going to open up the doors, take the U.S. tax dollars to do this, let's do it the right way. Let's not perpetuate the behavior of the drug cartels and the human traffickers. Last but not least, gosh, you guys been looking at the John Weaver, the Lincoln Project's John Weaver. It is so weird and, just bizarro. So he's married. He's got kids. Apparently, he was a groomer, right? You know what that is. He was talking to, allegedly, a young gentleman, teenage boy, not a gentleman, a young boy, and trying to groom him, and then later had a relationship with him. Apparently, there are 21 men who have accused him of sending inappropriate messages and in some instances offering political and employment opportunities for, I guess, sex or something like that. He is, this is the Lincoln Project. These are the people, right? This is one of the founders. These are the people that were going after Trump and talking about what a horrible human being President Trump was. And this is the rhino Republicans, right? You're telling me that George Conway and all these guys didn't know about this guy's sickness and the way he was lying to everyone? Of course they knew. Of course they knew, because Karl Rove tried to report it a long time ago and tried to out him for it, and nobody would ever publish anything. So I want to play this clip for you. It's just unbelievable to me. Here is a John Weaver, is a sound clip of John Weaver talking about the Trump race war and malfeasance. Here we go.
Well, imagine as we speak, the President of the United States is flaming the fires of a potential race war in order to hide the fact that now more than 103,000 Americans are dead, dreams are dashed, businesses are closed, millions are unemployed because of his narcissism and his ignorance and his malfeasance.
Oh, well, I wanted you to hear this because this is Washington. They're just lying to you all the time. They want to censor us. They want to censor us for telling the truth. But all they do is lie. All they do is lie. And there's even weirder stuff that's going on. I mean, I could talk to you all day. I know I can't. But what about BLM getting nominated right now for the Nobel Peace Prize? And by the way, Stacey Abrams is also being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Let's just jump right into that. How crazy is that? Nobel Peace, BLM was rioting. Let's just be honest. It has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. Of course, Black Lives Matter. This is about the organization. I'm talking about the organization. An organization that is very anti-American, by the way. Very anti-American. One that doesn't even believe in the nuclear family. I want you to hear this clip. This group is being nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. But listen to this Minneapolis woman who was devastated, her life devastated by the Black Lives Matter riots that took place.
I live in the high-rise right back here, and I seen them as they came down Lake Street. But then they turned and started coming over here, and I'm sitting out looking out my window. And they went straight to Office Max, the dollar store, and every store over here that I go to. I have nowhere to go now. I have no way to get there because the buses aren't running. These people did this for no reason. It's not going to bring George back here. George is in a better place than we are. And last night, I'm going to be honest, I wish I was where George was because this is ridiculous. These people are tearing up our livelihood. This is the only place I could go to shop. And now I don't have anywhere to go.
That's really tragic. This poor woman and her community devastated and destroyed. But I want to remind you of what the Democrats did. And Kamala Harris and others. Vice President Kamala Harris was pushing for people to bail out the rioters. Remember that? Posting it on Twitter and everything. And now they want to come after Trump supporters. Granted, what happened on January 6th, those people that violated the law need to pay for it. They need to pay the price for that. But they are trying to turn what happened on January 6th, as an insurgency where we have to bring in troops and we have to expand our domestic spying capabilities to go after Trump supporters. Because, my gosh, they are the weird right-wing white supremacy. That's not easy to say. Right-wing white supremacy. That's what they're saying. It's not true. It's all lies. It's all lies, over-exaggerated. Here is a woman who lost her, was in tears. She said, pretty much, I'd rather be with George Floyd. I'd rather be dead than have to see what's happened to my community. I can't even get to my store. BLM nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. If you think we live in an upside-down world, we actually really do. Which is why we can't be afraid to speak up and tell the truth, guys. It's up to all of us. Each one of us has to do that, right? Each one of us has to take the chance, just the opportunity to, when someone asks you something, don't hide. Don't be the silent majority. You don't have to be violent. You don't have to fight in a violent way. No, it's just speaking up for each one of us, for each other. Speaking up and not allowing people to be targeted. That is so important. I'm going to jump to something I think is really good before I let you go, and it's Elon Musk. Yes, I'm so excited. And it's Elon Musk and the Neuralink company that he has. He says right now, Neuralink his Neuralink monkey can play video games with its mind. This guy is awesome. I mean, he's taking our world to places we never could imagine, to space with SpaceX and now with Neuralink. And I know it sounds really crazy and sci-fi, but it's the ability to combine human beings and robotics together and giving the robotics actually AI, which is actually right now kind of scary now that I'm thinking about it. But let me read this to you and then I'll be letting you go. Elon Musk says his brain implant firm Neuralink has equipped a monkey to play video games with its mind. He's the world's richest man, and he's touted the achievement in an early morning interview about Neuralink. He said, we've already got a monkey with a wireless implant in their skull and the tiny wires who can play video games using his mind. That's pretty incredible. One of the things we're trying to figure out is, can we have a monkey play mind pong with each other? He added, that would be pretty cool. That means, like, I guess one monkey would have a Neuralink and the other monkey would have a Neuralink, and they could connect to each other wirelessly and play mind pong back and forth without even a monitor in front of them, right? Imagine that. The reason why I'm so interested in this, and I'll get back into that, my husband, lost his eyesight in Afghanistan. And one of the biggest things that both DARPA, that's the government, secret laboratories, and others have been trying to do is bring sight back to the blind. And part of that would require having these brain implants, these chips, because my husband actually he doesn't have a right eye, and his left eye, the optical nerve has been cut. So it died. The optical nerve died, which means that he can't process the vision going like we do normally from our eyesight to the back of our brain, and then it kind of processes right there. What they're looking at now is the ability for people to maybe have an implant that would allow it to bypass the optical nerve. That's a really big deal. So work like this with Neuralink actually could take us to whole new levels. That's a little bit selfish of me, I know, but I would love for my husband to see his daughter one day. And that would be, and see all of his kids again, all of our kids one day. And that for him would be just the greatest gift of all. People don't know until they lose something how precious it really is. Well, again, thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. You're like family to me. I want you to know that here at our show, we will work diligently to expose anything and everything that works against our Constitution and our country. We're here to take back the story. We're here to tell you the truth. We are, in fact, reclaiming that truth. So wherever you listen to this show, whether it's Spotify app, your iTunes app, whatever, please write a review. Please write a review and give us a 5-star rating. And we read those reviews. I read them personally, and I take your ideas and we develop stories from them. And we love you. God bless. And remember, leave a review. Today, I'm joined by Rebecca Weber, the CEO of the Association for Mature American Citizens, also known as AMAC. For the upcoming year, what are some of the biggest topics of advocacy for members?
As an organization that represents Americans 50 and over, we recognize that Social Security is such an important component to seniors' income. And so we also recognize that for someone my age, for example, Social Security, I may not see my entire benefit unless something is done soon. So we promise to fight to keep Social Security solvent. We've got what's called the AMAC Social Security Guarantee. Information is found on our website. We're also pushing for transparency in healthcare. We want to eliminate surprise billing. Sara, another great proposal that we have out there, which has got over 22 co-sponsors now, is AMAC's pro bono healthcare bill, which essentially allows doctors to take a healthcare deduction and provide doctor services to individuals that are currently on Medicaid. We project that it could save billions of dollars in Medicaid, but also it provides for those lower income folks to have and build a real doctor-patient relationship.
Rebecca, thanks so much for being with me today. I'm honored to have you and AMAC as a sponsor for the Sarah Carter Show. For more information, folks, visit amac.us/Carter.